Nobody covers the NBA better for all these years than Lang Whitaker, NBA TV and everything else that he does. He's got a blanket on the NBA, and we love when we can get him on our program, and we have him this morning to talk about, I guess, the most hyped NBA finals that I can remember. Lang, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado, 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio. Good morning.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're great, Lang, and man, the hype leading up to this one. Can you remember an NBA Finals that has been more hyped than the one we've got going on right now between Cleveland and Golden State?
Not since I was a kid, and we used to get those like Lakers-Celtics finals.
Yeah.
I guess the one, it's sort of a perfect storm. It's the first ever three match, as it's been called. The first time we've had the same two teams 3 years in a row, and they split the previous two. So this is clearly the deciding series. And then also, just the way it worked out calendar-wise, there's been like this week off, and it's sort of like the Super Bowl. They usually it just kind of goes from the conference finals to the finals right away, and the way the schedule worked out, it allowed all this hype to build. So that's another reason I think why it's one of the more anticipated finals maybe ever.
Lang, do you think, without any question, that this will live up to the hype, that we're going to have a great series?
Well, I think it depends on what the hype. What you're expecting out of this. Like, I know some people say, well, the first three rounds of the playoffs weren't very good. If you're a fan of the Warriors, you probably think it was pretty good. If you're a fan of the Cavs, you probably liked it. I don't know, basketball-wise, if it's going to come down to, the last shot of Game 7. And really, the last year, the first couple of games weren't very good. There was a couple of blowouts to start, but then they ended up with Kyrie Irving in Game 7 making that shot. So it's going to be hard to top last year's for Cleveland to come back from a 3-1 deficit and win that series. Game 7 being decided on a last-second shot. It's tough to beat that, I think. And I kind of feel like the teams this year maybe aren't as evenly matched as they were a year ago. But who knows? Let's see what happens.
Lang, you're around NBA players all the time. What kind of pressure is there on Kevin Durant? And from what you've experienced being around KD, is he the type of guy who would feel that kind of pressure?
No. I've known Kevin a long time, and I think if there was pressure, it was probably in the summer when he had to decide what to do, and trying to decide if after spending his entire professional life in Oklahoma City, if he was going to leave, and the ramifications of that, and having to deal with the repercussions of it. And at this point, after they put together the season they did, and they've shown what they can do, I think the pressure is now it's all left on the basketball court, and that's what these guys train their entire lives for. It's for almost all these guys, when they're on the court is when all the other stuff fades away, and when they're able to focus on just the basketball, and it's all muscle memory and doing what you've been trained to do. So I think for Kevin and for the Warriors and for LeBron and the Cavs, at this point, the pressure happens in those press conferences and in the columns and all that stuff. On the court is when they're able to kind of be themselves.
Time with Lang Whitaker, NBA TV, with us here on Big Board Sports as we get set for Game 1 tonight. Golden State seems to be favored in just about every corner I turn to, and there are many people that do think Cleveland can win this, and I think they can. I'm picking Golden State. Do you think the Warriors deserve here on paper to be the favorites?
Yeah, Cleveland has been awesome. I've been covering the Cavs for most of the Eastern Conference playoffs, and haven't seen them in person a lot. LeBron is playing about as well as he's played in his career. Kevin Love is playing maybe the best since he's gotten to Cleveland. They still have Kyrie. They added all these guys, Darren Williams, Kyle Korver. It made them a deeper team and a stronger team. And that being said, they haven't had to play an offense like Golden State. They went through Indiana, Toronto without Kyle Lowry, Boston without Isaiah Thomas, and now they're going to play against maybe historically one of the best offenses ever in the history of the NBA. I think back to last year, the way Cleveland beat Golden State, and they kind of found this blueprint, was they decided, all right, if someone's going to beat us, it's going to be Harrison Barnes. And they left Harrison Barnes open for a lot of those threes, and he wasn't able to make them. And now that role is going to be played by Kevin Durant. So I don't think you're going to leave Kevin Durant open to take those threes. So now you got to figure out, well, how are we going to adjust? Who are we going to let shoot? And, maybe that's Draymond Green. But Draymond's been great through this postseason. So it's just sort of pick your poison, and there's not a safe bet out there if you're the Cavs. And I feel like just from that standpoint, defensively for Cleveland, it's just such a tough matchup. And I feel like Golden State has to be favored and is going to be the team to win the finals.
You expect LeBron to be, look, he's the best player on the planet. You think he's going to be able to play like that night in and night out, game in and game out in this series?
Yeah, that's the one thing. I pick Golden State. I think Golden State's going to win, but the one thing that makes you pause is the best player in the game is on Cleveland, and we've seen him do it before. He did it last year. So I think LeBron, the way he's able to play against Golden State and in the playoffs is, he brings the ball up court. He finds a defender that he thinks he can beat or that someone else can beat. He calls over a guy to set a pick, gets a mismatch, goes after him. It's almost like each possession is a little game of chess, and he's figuring it out play by play. The way he passes and finds the open players, he's just playing great. And I don't know, if that's enough. That's the question: is LeBron playing at his best? Kind of taking the tempo out of the series and playing it the way they want to play. Is that going to be enough? And then defensively, what happens? Is LeBron going to guard Kevin Durant? Because I don't know if Kevin Love can stick with him. And if LeBron's on Durant for a large part of that series, how much is that going to take out of him on the offensive side of things? So this is the biggest, probably, I think, throughout the playoffs, this is the biggest load they've asked LeBron to carry. And, he's so far we've seen he's been up to the task every single time they've asked something of him. So I'm interested to see how he responds to this challenge.
He's on Twitter at Lang Whitaker. You can find his stuff on NBA TV, NBA.com, and writes about food for GQ magazine as well. And Lang, I'll throw this out here, but I do have a question. I've been to the new Braves ballpark. I don't know if you have yet or not, but it's worth the trip, man, for sure. If we're not talking about one of the 8 main players in this series, Durant, Curry, Thompson, Green, Golden State, and then I'll throw Tristan Thompson in with Kevin Love and LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. If we're not talking about one of those 8 guys when all this is said and done, who is it we'll be talking about as the difference maker?
For Cleveland, you're asking? I would say Kyle Korver, maybe. The other guy who I haven't heard mentioned a lot that I think is going to probably play a bigger role than people suspect for Cleveland might be Iman Shumpert, just defensively. They don't really need Shump to score points, but he's a great individual defender. And I wonder if that's going to be their answer for Kevin Durant maybe, or for Klay Thompson, or for one of those wing guys that they're going to have to put someone on. Kyrie Irving, is transcendent as he is offensively, is not very good defensively. Kyle Korver's not a very good defender, individual defender. So they're going to have to find somebody to play those guys and to eat up a lot of minutes, I think. And I wonder if Shumpert's going to be that guy who we haven't heard a lot from lately. He's kind of fallen out of the rotation during the regular season. But I think Shumpert might be a guy who ends up kind of playing a bigger role than a lot of people are expecting.
Are you picking Golden State, Lang?
Yeah, I think Golden State in 5. I just don't know if Cleveland defensively can hang with them. And even if you take out the defense of it, Golden State's going to put up points. They're going to score 100 points, 110 points. And I don't know if Cleveland can match that game after game. I think they'll probably win a game somewhere in the series, maybe 2, but I think Golden State in 5.
Do you think Steph Curry has a big series? Because he didn't against Cleveland. He's kind of struggled against Cleveland. Didn't have a big series last year against the Cavs.
It's funny we've gotten this far and we haven't mentioned the 2-time MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, for all the stuff and all the storylines, they said they have him. And the other guy we haven't mentioned really, and this is the guy I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of broke out, Klay Thompson. I think Curry will be fine and do what he does. He's been really good like the last 2 months. When they played at Christmas, he was kind of in that funk and was just playing terrible. But now with Durant got injured toward the end of the year, Curry kind of refound the form from a couple of those MVP years and it's been great. But Klay Thompson hasn't been very good for them the last couple of weeks. He just hasn't been able to shoot, and that shoot. His shots aren't going in, and I wonder if the way this thing goes, the pendulum of sports, the way you're down for a couple of weeks, then you get hot for a couple of weeks. Klay Thompson's due, and we've seen throughout his career he's had those games where he'll go off and get 37 and a quarter or 60 in the game or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if Klay Thompson has a breakout game somewhere here coming up pretty soon. And, it's just another nightmare for the Cavs. You think you got a handle on Curry, you think you got a handle on Durant, and then you got Klay Thompson. And also Draymond. Look, remember Draymond Game 7 last year put up basically a triple-double when they lost, but he was great against Cleveland last year, and I think that's another just issue for the Cavs to have to deal with.
Well, Thompson can light it up, and you're right, though. He has been in a little bit of a slump here in the playoffs, only averaging 14 points a game. You give him the edge, though, over J.R. Smith in that matchup, right?
I think so. And look, J.R. is a guy who can also get hot. We've seen that. And he became a much better defender the last 2 years. He really committed to playing defense and being a good individual defender. But Thompson, man, the way he releases that ball, he catches the ball up at his head. He might have the quickest release in the NBA. He doesn't need much room to get that shot off. And I think once he gets hot, it's hard to cool him down.
Lang, it almost sounds to me like, just listening to you, and you take Golden State in 5, you'd be really surprised here, wouldn't you, if Cleveland flat out wins this series?
I would, but, LeBron's in the business of making people like me eat my words and surprising a lot of us. He's been doing it his whole career. So I'd be surprised if Cleveland won. At the same time, I wouldn't be shocked. I would say, they've got, again, the best player in the series, and LeBron figures out ways to do this. Last year when they were down 3-1, I think a lot of us thought, oh, this thing's over. And LeBron did it then. So I'm not going to be shocked if he does it again this year.
How many points does Golden State win by tonight?
I think they're going to win these first two games. I was thinking about that this morning. Just last year they blew them out in those first two games. Then went back to Cleveland, and Cleveland kind of found their footing a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State wins tonight by 20. Of course, it's going to come down to a last-second shot now that I said that out loud. But I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State was able to win tonight by a good margin.
I say let's pencil them in for next year, too. Let's get four straight matchups of these two teams. Let's just do it.
It could happen.
The way it's shaking out, man, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And the only thing I will say, too, Lang, I'll let you go, is how much pressure's on Durant?
Yes. But that's the thing. That's why he came to Golden State. If the pressure's on him, great. You're going to double team me. I'm going to throw it to Steph Curry. I'm going to throw it to Klay Thompson. I'm going to throw it to Draymond Green. Those guys can make plays. And I think for Kevin, that's one of the reasons you go join a team like this is for the pressure. It can be on him, but fine. He's going to be willing to share that ball and let someone else take the pressure off of him.
Lang Whitaker, you're the best, man. We love having you on. We appreciate it. Have a great time covering this series, and perhaps as we get into the couple of games in or so, we'll reach back out and try to get you back on the program.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks a lot.